Give us another clap.
You ready?
Yep.
There we go.
Nice. Whew. Alrighty. Well, do you want to do the first bit or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
You do it, Ollie.
No, it's normally me doing this. Like if I screw it up. Alright, so. Alright. Thank you, Angela.
I'm a good one at that.
Okay, so we're gonna
Yep, you do that. You do it. You do
acknowledge
it.
elders past, present and emerging.
Yes.
We're working today on Gadigal land.
Yes.
This is, was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Yep.
So let's begin. Alright, Angela. So we've got a lot to talk about, but to start, I guess we need to open with a brief summation of phenomenology.
Okay.
Just as a kind of lens to understand your practice and
Yeah.
maybe what it's trying to do from an audience perspective.
Okay. Yeah. So my work and the theory it's based on is phenomenology, and I really wanted to link phenomenology to the nude figure. And Merleau-Ponty is a French philosopher that really linked the concept that we experience the world through our senses, through sight, hearing, taste, and linking that with a mental cognition as well. So my theory is based on that.
I'm so sorry. Got the giggles. Oh, glory of post-production.
Yeah, no. So my theory is based on phenomenology, which is how we experience the world through our senses, so through sight, hearing, taste, touch. And Merleau-Ponty connected that with a mental cognition. So it's not just a mental process of, oh, I have consciousness, but it's that we experience the world through these senses. And I was my work's linking that to the nude figure, experiencing the world in space.
Yeah. So, and I mean as well with when we talk about the senses, it's also like that before the thought kicks in, right?
Yeah. So we experience the world and it's pre-reflective, and we're not aware of. We're not going, oh, I'm having this experience and it's heightened by this smell and that piece of music. That's all happening at the same time. So it's pre-reflective. And I think the artwork, when we look at an artwork, what I liked about phenomenology is that you can do an artwork base that's inspired by it, but then when the viewer comes along and looks at it, they're also having a phenomenological experience. So it's got this lovely cycle about it.
It's feedback loop.
Yeah. So first year in MFA, I was linking it to the nude figure and going to life drawing classes. And then in the beginning of second year, I became pregnant, and I had to respond to that as an artist. I couldn't just keep on drawing figures and life drawing.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to just for the viewer's sake, draw out a bit of a timeline of that. So I like where you started in the first year, because, I mean, we were thinking about similar things in the crits, in that we were both looking at portraiture in a way. Like my ordinary show, Talking Dark, is a, you know, quite indulgent, long podcast that aims to, you know, portray my friends. But you were also doing life drawing of your friends, and we were both kind of exploring that uncomfortable space in exposing our loved ones to our art.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, what happened too is I started off just with life drawing here at NAS, and then COVID, the first lockdown happened, and I didn't have access to a life drawing class, so I started asking friends and family, and having done so, I started to capture a likeness and a portrait, not just the life drawing. So it developed that way.
So it was that attachment to these people's stories that really activated that.
And their environment, and the environment that I was responding to their environment, they were responding to my environment, and then it became, a likeness came from that.
Alright, so you would more often than not visit them
sometimes,
in their homes.
And then they'd come to me as well. Yeah.
A bit like my show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So, I mean, that it all changed very suddenly. Where does the turtle story fit in?
Okay.
Because I love how that kind of sets the mood, you know.
It does.
This is going to be a very different experience.
Yeah. So when I became pregnant, my boyfriend that I was seeing at the time, you know, did not want to have anything to do with the baby, and so he left. And so I was dealing with this emotional trauma in the middle of masters, and so the pregnancy was bittersweet sometimes. Sometimes it was like this amazing thing's happening. I'm 41. I'm pregnant. Wow. But then that you know, my partner left, and I went to. He was travelling up the coast, and so I went up and visited him in Brisbane. I flew in, and to try and make the relationship work. I was pregnant, you know, and in hindsight, you know, I shouldn't have been following him up the coast. He should have been doing the right thing coming to me. But anyway, so I flew into Brisbane, and we were going to a little folk festival out at a place called Maidenwell. And over that course of that weekend, a lady had said to me, you should really go and see this waterhole here. It's beautiful waterhole, natural, you know, feature of the area. And she said that there had been a massacre there of Aboriginal people back in the day. And so I thought, well, I'm definitely going to go and see this waterhole and pay my respects. And Matt and I had a fight on the Saturday morning, and it was so intense that I thought, I'm going to go to that waterhole now, and, you know, walk that anger and sadness off. And I got to the waterhole, and there was a few people there swimming, and I was secretly going to have a bit of a skinny dip in there, but I couldn't because there were people there. And it was healing. It was just this beautiful waterhole with trees and turtles in the waterhole, hundreds of them. And I sat there quietly and reflected, and I thought, I'm going to go back, get my swimmers, and come back and go for a swim. So I did that, and Matt ended up coming back with me. And we went for a swim, and when we got out of the water, Matt said to me, oh, come here and give me a hug. And so we did. And as I was giving him a hug, I was facing the waterhole. A turtle surfaced to come up and breathe. And when I looked at the turtle, I recognised it as an Aboriginal female elder. I know it sounds really out there, but and she acknowledged that I was pregnant, and she said, it's not said, you get this feeling, and she said, you know, you're bad man trouble. And I thought to myself, yeah, I know. and it really changed the way that
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you, woman.
So it had changed the way that I was going to operate from then on around that situation. And when I walked back up to the little pub that's up there at Maidenwell where the folk festival was going, I said to a lady, "Wow, I just went to that waterhole. It was fantastic." And I didn't tell her all the things that what was happening there. No, I don't. And this is where it really spins me out. And she said she was a local, and she works with the elder Aboriginal community up there as a carer. And she said that one of the elder ladies said to her, "Oh, that's a woman's business place, that place."
Yeah.
And when she said that, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, because I was like, oh my gosh, I went, and it because when you have these experiences, you sort of think, oh, am I mad, wow, but when she said that, I went, wow. And so I really heeded the message in that, bad man, okay. So I flew out of Brisbane the next day, and I said to Ivy in my tummy, that's it, we're flying and we're leaving that drama behind. Yeah. So the image in my drawings with the turtle, so when you see the turtle in my images, they're floating sometimes in a nowhere void, or so it's like that message that came to me is portrayed through that symbol.
Yeah.
And you'll see in my artwork that the waterholes is a reoccurring theme as well.
Yeah, cool. Let's take a quick break. I'll switch over the camera.
Okay.
Give us another clap.
Ready?
Yeah. Alright. So, in talking about how these paintings that are with us here in the Hoff space, or drawings actually, not paintings, sorry, kind of changed from your initial project. I mean, you touched it on a bit. I really like how you've moved from gestural mark making with a lot of watercolours and things to this quite precise sense of observation, and kind of mixed in with this almost collage-y, void type arrangement of these things.
Yeah.
And I particularly like how the landscapes only appear in mirrors and these types of vessels.
Yeah.
I mean, does it come out of surrealism at all?
Well, I didn't put anything like that in my paper, and it was it's verging on it, isn't it? But I think being pregnant, what was happening for me is, having to deal with that emotion of, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a single mum, and so I was feeling the ups and downs of that. And when I started the drawing series of Ivy, I was mindful that I was constructing a reality around that wasn't necessarily real, and I loved playing with the mirror, and so I could reflect what I was thinking, what I was feeling, or things that had happened to me in the mirror, and I could play with the mirror and what was in the background of the drawing as well. So I started to have alternate realities. And I was really experiencing that, because the ups and the downs, the happiness of being pregnant, the sadness of having a relationship breakup. And so the dark void behind the mirror reflects that energy of feeling that heartache. But then it was also a celebration in the mirror of, well, this is coming, and there's something special on the way.
Yeah. And as someone that, I suck at life drawing. I mean, I'm good at landscapes and that kind of stuff, but the figure I'm always improving in small bits. And I'm curious to know how you actually got those done, the self-portraits.
Well, I did work off photos, because it was I did have a few goes at drawing from a mirror, but your proportions, you just can't get proportions right because, I don't know, you move the mirror and you move yourself and it's just never right. So you end up, somehow the head's you just can never get the proportion right. So I was working off photos, and I had a friend come in and take photos of the journey of, when Ivy was only a couple of weeks old, or a couple of months, and then through to being pregnant, and then Ivy being born and here.
Yeah, nice. So what's your plans for the future? What's next for Angela and Ivy versus the world?
Yeah. Well, she's brought so much joy, and she really has healed that trauma that I had. And I wouldn't change a thing for that. I wouldn't change any of that now. So that's that. So I'm going to continue being the best mum I can be. But I'm going to start painting this series. And I think I can look at those drawings as preliminary drawings for a painting. And because I worked out like different types of compositions and how where the mirror is sitting and how it can reflect reality. So I think I'm going to move into painting with them. And I'm thinking that I quite like the black and white of them as well, with the washes underneath. So I'm thinking I'm going to experiment with that, with painting in a black and white style. I'll mix a black and play with that the darkness of that. And then I will paint them in colour as well, I think, too.
Yeah. I do really like that mix of black and white and colour. It's quite cinematic.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I quite like when another way that's been done in film was Ten Canoes. You remember how the story was told in a bit of black and white and then it's told in colour? And so I was quite mindful of how you can tell a story through, well, here's one line of story being told in a black and white, and then here's another line, a story being told in colour. And then that sort of also added into the way I was trying to present different realities and different, different stages of being pregnant. I look at them like a visual diary of what I was going through.
Yeah, I bet it would have been, super cathartic.
Yeah, it was.
To get out. Yeah. And do you have a studio up in St Albans?
Yeah. So for the listeners, I've always lived between Hornsby and St Albans, and balancing that world. And I grew up in St Albans. So now I've had Ivy. I've moved back to St Albans permanently for the moment. And I work in my lounge room.
Nice.
And I have an art table set up. So I definitely live art.
Nice.
Yeah.
An appropriate blend between art and life.
Yeah, I would love a studio, but that's where my space is at the moment. Yeah. And I think it would be nice to separate it from the domestic, but in a way, having that table set up there, it means that it's just there. So you tend to go, oh, okay, let's have a play and let's start work. Yeah.
I mean, you've got a couple of years yet before she's flinging shit around the house and punching holes through canvases.
Well, that's going to change, isn't it? Because she'll probably want to draw on the artwork as well.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Angela.
My pleasure.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Got a good blooper reel out of that too.
Got a good what, sorry?
Blooper reel.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, that's the first time that's happened. Oh, too funny.
You had a blooper. Oh no, you had a Melinda TC's one. You had, but it wasn't really a blooper one, was it?
Oh, I mean, there's times in every episode where people crack me up.
Yeah. I was going to say, did anyone give you the giggles?
Yeah, no, that's the first time that I've had the giggles and been like really trying to focus on like your lips moving to the words. And like exactly what you were saying, so I just wouldn't think about
I'm actually quite famous for that, and I think it's when my brain's in the art mode side, because art and speech are not on the same side.
Yeah.
And if I'm thinking on that side, that happens. And my brother knows me really well that I do things like that. Like I was going, look at this guy, he's weaving all over the road. I was like, oh, you know what I mean.
The one I do constantly is spoonerisms, where I swap the first letter of.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do it.
Well, it's when your brain. Well, it might be like brain on the left-right side.